Welcome back to Monitors Unboxed. Today is, you guessed it, another monitor recommendation video, this time looking at the best monitors you can get at each main price point. It turns out the previous version of this video is a year old now, more than overdue for an update, and there's no better time than during the holiday shopping season. The idea with this video, in contrast to the overall best monitors video, is that I go through price points ranging from $100 through to over $1,000 in $50 to $100 increments, recommending the monitor I'd choose at that price. Normally, in my best monitor videos, I tend to provide multiple options for people in whatever category, but that isn't going to be the case today. So if you want all the decision making taken out of your hands, you just want to know what monitor to get with the amount of cash you have to spend, this is the video for you. Like always, the recommendations in this video are based on my testing of a large variety of gaming monitors. I usually prefer to recommend products I've tested and know to be good, although there are some exceptions. Also, monitor pricing does change regularly, so if you're watching this video weeks or months after it went live, I'd recommend checking out the latest pricing via our links in the description, and pricing in this video is based on US dollars, so you'll have to adjust that a little bit if you are in other regions. But before we get into it, this video is brought to you by the LG 27GX790A, a brand new 480Hz OLED gaming monitor that's just been announced, and you can pre-order it today. It's the world's fastest 480Hz OLED with DisplayPort 2.1, and we know what this WOLED panel is going to bring. Lightning fast 0.03 millisecond rate of response times, excellent HDR through per pixel control, and unbeatable motion clarity while gaming. Using LG's next-gen OLED technology and MLA+, peak brightness is set to hit 1300 nits, while blacks remain as deep and rich as ever. I'm super excited for the 480Hz LG 27GX790A to come out, so to pre-order yours today, check the link in the description below. This year, I'm back to starting this guide at $100 US because that's the sort of price point that 1080p monitors need to occupy. Now, to be fair, it's actually a little difficult to find a 1080p 144Hz gaming monitor or better for just $100 US. The vast majority of models that I've seen start at either $110 or $120. So I'm going to sneak in here one of the few 1080p monitors that I've actually tested recently, the AOC 24G4, which at its lowest price can be found around $120 US. The 24G4 is a 24-inch 1080p 180Hz IPS LCD that offers decent performance at an entry-level price. It's slightly better than its predecessors, offers a wide color gamut, height adjustable stand, respectable motion performance, and excellent factory calibration. It's a 1080p display you can trust to get the job done, it sticks to the basics, and is pretty solid overall. If you can snag one for near $120, you've done pretty well. I've been surprised to see 1440p monitors reach as low as $150 US this year, and so at $150 I'm recommending the ASRock PG27 QFT2A. When I tested this monitor, I was quite impressed with how reasonable it was at the price, with no deal-breaker flaws that I usually expect from dirt cheap products. It's a 27-inch 1440p 180Hz IPS LCD that's a noticeable step up from other entry-level monitors due to its higher 1440p resolution. The strengths to this product are its wide viewing angles and lack of dark level smearing, both pros relative to VA LCDs, in addition to its low input lag, lack of flickering, and great contrast ratio for an IPS. Unfortunately, response time performance is not the best, which is to be expected in the bottom of the budget tier, and there hasn't been much of an attempt at factory calibration. But in my opinion, it's still very usable for gaming and isn't as poorly tuned as budget LCDs from a few years ago, so at such a low price, it gets a tick from me. At around $200 US, I'm recommending the Dell G2724D. This monitor outperforms the ASRock model in most areas, making it a worthwhile upgrade choice if you have a little more to spend. It's a 27-inch 1440p 165Hz IPS LCD that you can typically find for between $180 and $200 US, with several areas to performance matching higher-end 1440p monitors like its decent response time performance and well-calibrated sRGB mode. This monitor will be a significant upgrade over older IPS or VA monitors due to its lack of dark smearing, faster response times, better viewing angles, and nice color experience. Its contrast ratio isn't too bad, high brightness. This is really a well-balanced monitor at this price point. I think it's a perfect entry point to 1440p gaming or a good choice for an upgrade over older monitors. At $250, I'm not in love with most options because at around this price, I feel most monitors are only a minor upgrade on what you can get for closer to $200, but if I had to recommend something, I'd probably pick the LG 27 GP850, which these days you can actually get for more like $230 on a good day. There are also several other very similar LG models that you could slot in for the 27GP850. There are two main areas. The 27GP850 improves upon the Dell G2724D, which makes it worth considering at times. One is it has a much wider color gamut, so if you either wanted near full coverage of DCI-P3 or an even more saturated or oversaturated experience, the 27GP850 provides that. It also features better response time tuning, especially at its maximum 180Hz refresh rate. Unfortunately, the contrast ratio is a downgrade and isn't very good, so depending on what you prefer in a monitor, it might not be the best choice. At around $300 US, I would buy the AOC Q27G3XMN. This is a 27-inch 1440p 180Hz VA LCD with a 336-zone mini LED backlight, meaning it's capable of true, though entry-level HDR performance. At just $280, this is the cheapest way to experience proper HDR in games, and the image quality it delivers is quite impressive thanks to its decent amount of zones and high peak brightness. It's a much better HDR presentation than you'd get from crappy edge-lit dim display HDR 400 monitors. Motion performance isn't as good as IPS LCD competitors, but is on the better end of the scale that I've seen from VA panels and is typically okay for gaming. It's not a fast monitor, but its speed isn't a deal breaker. It also has an excellent native contrast ratio, and did I mention it's a proper HDR display for just $280. Availability is a bit problematic at times, but if you can buy one, I recommend it. At $350, the available monitors are more of a side grade relative to the Q27G3XMN than an upgrade. What I generally recommend doing at this price point is either going for the HDR-capable AOC model if you are primarily a single-player gamer, or going for a 1440p 240Hz IPS display if you prefer multiplayer. So for $350, this is where the 27-inch 1440p 240Hz IPS LCD in the MSI G274QPX comes in, and generally you can get it for a little under $350 if you're lucky. The G274QPX performs well, and with a higher refresh rate than the other models we've talked about so far, it brings better motion clarity and lower input lag, which is a nice combination for competitive gamers. It also functions well as a general 1440p monitor with a decent contrast ratio, high peak brightness, wide color gamut, and good sRGB mode. There's little reason to spend more on a 1440p 240Hz LCD in 2024. At $400, I recommend upgrading to a 4K gaming monitor, in particular the Gigabyte M27U or its similar cousin the M28U, both of which are available at $400 US these days. The M27U that I'll focus on is a 27-inch 4K 160Hz IPS LCD that is best described as a classic all-rounder. There's no standout strengths to this display that put it well above others, but there's no deal-breaker flaws either, and it performs well across all areas of performance. Motion performance is pretty good and is typical of current gen IPS LCD panels. Okay wide gamut coverage, reasonable factory calibration, great brightness, great viewing angles, nice high resolution. The contrast ratio is a bit disappointing, but if you'd like a nice 4K LCD for a bit of gaming and a bit of work or web browsing, the M27U is a great choice. At $500, you may as well get a larger 4K LCD gaming monitor, and this is where I'd go with the LG 32GI93U. Yes, you can find some cheaper mini LED LCDs at this price, but I haven't been overly impressed with the ones I've tested so far, so I'd rather recommend something that's quality at what it does, like the 32GI93U. Basically, this is a 32-inch 4K 144Hz IPS LCD that you can typically find for about $520, and it's one of the most affordable 32-inch 4K monitors on the market. This larger size is perfect for this resolution, providing more screen real estate for gaming and productivity. The 32GI93U is another balanced choice with decent response time performance, hardware calibration support, decent accuracy, and strong color space coverage. At $600, we are now in OLED territory, and this is where I'd recommend the AOC AG276QZD, which can actually be found for slightly under $600 on its best days. This is a 27-inch 1440p 240Hz W OLED that is really quite compelling for just $600 US, especially given when I reviewed it around a year ago, it was $800. If you're after a great bang for buck entry point to OLED gaming, this is it. The AG276QZD brings all the usual OLED qualities, such as elite response time performance and per pixel control, allowing for a true HDR experience with excellent contrast and decent peak brightness. The SDR experience is good on this display, motion clarity is excellent, and the built-in sRGB mode is accurate. I wasn't the biggest fan of its build quality, but at $600 US, almost a mid-range price in today's monitor market, you'll love what this OLED panel brings for gaming. Just maybe don't use it too much for static content due to the risk of permanent burn-in. While the AG276QZD is a great budget OLED offering, an even better choice that I'm slotting into the $700 tier is the Asus ROG Strix XG27 AQDMG, which is typically found between $650 and $700 US. This is also a 27-inch 1440p 240Hz W OLED, but it has a number of advantages compared to the AOC model. Firstly, it has a glossy screen coating instead of matte, which is better for darker environments and something that a lot of buyers prefer as it enhances the apparent black levels of OLED. It's also more accurate and brighter for HDR gaming, in some cases substantially brighter, giving it more punch in real-world scenes. And it retains all the other excellent OLED HDR qualities like response time speed and per pixel control. This is one of my favorite 1440p monitors in general right now. It's excellent and a great buy at this price. At $800, I'd pick up the Dell Alienware AW3423DWF, which is still a great buy, and if you are lucky, you'll find it closer to $700 US. It's a 34-inch 3440x1440 165Hz QD OLED, offering excellent value as a high-end OLED ultrawide. Like other OLEDs, it has per-pixel control, excellent HDR performance, and elite response times to complement its 165Hz refresh rate, which isn't the fastest on the market anymore, but is still great for immersive single-player experiences. After a couple of firmware updates, this Alienware model is one of the better calibrated QD OLEDs, and it delivers great brightness in its SDR and HDR modes. Even up against higher refresh rate competitors and newer W OLED models, I think the bang for buck ratio on offer here is great, and you won't find many cheaper ultrawides that deliver this level of quality. At $900, I would purchase a 32-inch 4K QD OLED gaming monitor, with the leading contender being the MSI MAG321UPX. This is a close relative of the 321URX that I tested, but available for $50 less at $900 flat, thanks to the omission of a few USB ports and RGB LED lights. In my opinion, 32-inch 4K 240Hz monitors like this are the best category on the market and offer the best experience for gamers. They are fast, have great HDR performance, a high resolution, large screen size, and a great refresh rate. They can do it all, whether it's single player or multiplayer gaming. On the 321URX that I tested, which is what I'd recommend in the $1,000 price range too, I was very impressed with its calibration in the SDR and HDR modes. Brightness characteristics are good, panel performance is excellent. I think most people will be blown away by how good this looks in the latest AAA games. It also has a glossy finish, which is beneficial in darker environments, though the QD OLED panel structure isn't ideal for brighter rooms. Text quality is also excellent thanks to the improvements with this generation of OLED. I've picked the MSI models in these two price categories because I find it really hard to separate most of the 4K OLEDs that I've tested in terms of performance, so the ones that are typically cheaper get my tick of approval. In this instance, at least in the USA, it's the MSI models. Just be aware if you're planning on buying one for the occasional bit of productivity work that they are at risk of permanent burn-in. The most expensive monitors that I would strongly recommend at the moment are also 32-inch 4K 240Hz OLEDs, but in the $1,200 to $1,300 US range, you can get the best of the best models that are slightly better. The overall best I believe to be the Asus ROG Swift PG32 UCDM, and there's also the PG32 UCDP if you want something slightly different. The PG32 UCDM is the same format as the MSI 321UPX and 321URX, a 32-inch 4K 240Hz QD OLED. What the UCDM does better than the MSI models is it has a few additional features like ELMB black frame insertion and Dolby Vision support. It's also slightly better calibrated and includes an unlocked sRGB mode. Most other areas to performance are identical to the MSI variant as they use the same panel, but if you do like the idea of a few extras and slightly better tuning, the Asus model is at the top of the charts. The PG32 UCDP is in the same boat, but instead offers a 32-inch 4K 240Hz W OLED with dual mode 1080p 480Hz functionality. I would personally buy the PG32 UCDM over the PG32 UCDP, but the UCDP is a great choice as well if you want that dual mode support. It's about the same price and also sits at the top of the market, at least of products that I can sensibly recommend. That's not to say there aren't more expensive monitors, because there are, but once you go above $1,300 to $1,400, it's difficult to recommend them. Most of the time they just aren't better at gaming than the options I've already mentioned, and really you can get top-end performance from these 4K OLEDs starting at $900. I'd hate for you to waste money on expensive products for no reason, so I'm not going to bother talking about anything that's higher in price. And that does it for our price point monitor recommendations. If you want more detailed information on these monitors, we do have reviews available for most of them on this channel. Just search for the monitor in question and it'll pop up. Also, if you'd rather know what the best monitors are in a given category rather than what the best monitors are at a given price, we have plenty of other breakdowns on the channel that give more options and more information about various categories. Anyway, if you do want to support the channel here at Monitors Unboxed and the wealth of testing that goes into videos like this, we test pretty much everything that we recommend, then please do consider supporting us via Patreon. Links to that is in the description below. If you sign up, not only will you be supporting our independent testing and recommendations, we also have a bunch of cool benefits that you get, like our Discord community, great place to chat about monitors, get recommendations. We offer ICC profiles for monitors that we've calibrated. We've got monthly live streams, BTS content, plenty of great stuff. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.